coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So how did you end up in Dripping Springs?
Oh, wow.
That's what we want to hear.
I should have planned out that, perfect little story bringing me here. It happened during the pandemic. We had a life change. And my husband and I are both from Texas.
Okay.
I went to UT. He went to Texas State. That's where we met. He was in the military, so we moved around a little bit. We were, he got out of the military. We were up in Portland making wine.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, we decided we wanted to be a part of this growing wine industry here in Texas. So we started researching, different areas to live. We had a winery in Portland, so we wanted to be able to commute back and forth between Hill Country and in Portland, so we needed to be somewhat near the airport. So Dripping Springs was this perfect little, unicorn situation between Fredericksburg and Austin, and had opportunity for us to open at that time a tasting room for our winery. So
cool.
Near family, near wine country.
Did you grow up here in Austin?
I grew up in Dallas.
Oh.
Yeah, I grew up in Dallas. My parents now live in Georgetown. My husband grew up in Corpus.
Really?
I stopped for a second. This is probably annoying you, isn't it?
It is, but...
Oh. There we go.
Oh, I sound so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Was it upside down?
It was upside down. It's okay. I'm going to play it back and then we'll start. So I think you said Georgetown.
Her husband's from Corpus.
I grew up in Dallas.
Oh.
Yeah, I grew up in Dallas. My parents now live in Georgetown. My husband grew up in Corpus.
Stop right there, and I can pull her up from there. Da-da-da. Don't worry, that's also on YouTube.
Boop. See, I told you, lipstick on the T.
Yeah. All right, here we go. You ready?
Okay.
I'm going to give you the cue.
Okay. Well, I grew up semi in Corpus, too. Where did he go to high school?
He did not actually grow up in Corpus. Outside of Corpus.
Outside
of Beeville.
Ah, okay. I know where that is.
Toledo, Texas.
Oh, yeah. I know where that is.
Yeah. So he went to Pettis High School.
Oh, wow.
We had somebody else on the show.
To Pettis.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it Barrett? No.
No.
You have to introduce me.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out who that was. And they all blend together. I was going to say, you came out here and did the wine tasting room. When I moved here in 2003, the drive from Dripping Springs to Fredericksburg, there wasn't, I'm not joking, no winery, no brewery, nothing. And what is there now? 75 on that 40-mile stretch of road? This is a happening place for wine.
It's remarkable. Even in the 4 years that we've lived here, it's changed. And that's a deeper conversation if you want to get into it. But
I had a question about a couple of things about the winemaking. You say sustainable vineyards, and what was the other one? Low intervention winemaking. Explain to me what that is.
So with winemaking, just with anything,
okay.
I mean, think about organic apples versus commercial. When they're commercially made, they're going to look perfect. But they're going to have a lot of additives to make that doesn't happen in nature. They're not going to be shiny and red every single apple. They're not going to be the exact same size. They're not going to be the perfect shape. So there's a lot added to make that artificial perfection that we as consumers have gotten used to and demand. So it's a little bit complicated there of what the customer needs actually are. And then the organic apple might not always taste exactly the same, might not always have that same sugar content in February as it does in September, as it does in July. The same thing with wine. So we're picking grapes every year. The environment is different. The weather is different. The amount of rainfall is different. The grapes aren't going to taste the same every single year. So you can intervene as a winemaker. You can put in additives, you can put in flavors, you can add sugar, so that every time you go to the grocery store and you buy that same bottle of Pinot Noir for the last 10 years, it tastes exactly the same. It's because you can intervene and you can make it taste the same. We do not do that in our winemaking. We want every wine to have its own personality, its own unique personality. And some customers love that, and some customers are uncomfortable with that. Because see that just as you would an organic apple as an imperfection, as a blemish, because it doesn't look exactly the way that the commercial wines look like on the shelf. That the Pinot Gris might have an extra brightness or an extra acidity than the clean, crisp, Pinot Gris that you're used to buying for $12 at H-E-B. So we have much more of a story to tell. The wines have much more of a story to tell, and it's so much more exhilarating and fun. But it's a bit of a different market.
So is that putting all the additives in there and the sugars and stuff, is that typically on the lower end of the wine business, or is that is that $12 bottles, or I don't know much about wine?
Sorry, I didn't know you meant price. No, I would say it's about 97% of the market.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So even the very expensive wines. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
these are large production, large scale.
Okay. Yeah, because the little bit of wine that I know about wine is that the waiter comes out in the restaurant and goes, "This is a vintage whatever blah 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 blah," and I would think, well, that must be special because it's different than the other years, right? So is that kind of an example of what you're talking about?
That would be it. Yeah. And I'm also talking about American wines and large commercial productions.
Yeah.
The wines that you're talking about are going to be smaller scale, and that's why the cost is higher, because a lot more attention and care has been given to the way the grapes were picked, to the amount of time that bottle has been stored.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a much longer answer if you want to get into the nitty gritty. But I'm more talking about when you go to H-E-B and you look at the shelves.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. So you started to say, why has this area exploded with people coming here to experience wine?
Fredericksburg has put a lot of money. A lot of California wineries also, which is changing now, which is exciting. But
our Texas wines are definitely competing with the California wines,
which is amazing.
Yeah, because I heard that the climate here is very similar to the way it is in Sonoma and Napa, and they like the whole stressed environment. Like the more stressed the grapes are, the better supposedly the wine is. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah, it can be. Okay. I mean, it kind of depends on what that stress is, and
not just like, ooh, you suck.
Yeah. But if it needs, perhaps what you're talking about is if the vines are stressed, they have to work harder to get water and go deeper into the soil, to grow those grapes. So, yeah.
I found it very interesting that you were talking about you have owned 7 restaurants, give or take. And coming from Portland, you had a restaurant there. I guess it was a food trailer, right? Called Stella Taco. Was that it? It was
a brick and mortar. So we had two locations, one on the north side of Portland and one on the south side of Portland.
And this was your what's the word I'm trying to think? Your Texas roots coming out into Portland. It was tacos and margaritas.
Yeah.
And how did the Portlanders, how did they take the tacos? I mean, I know up in the Northeast, or Northwest, it's a burrito or it's not a taco. It's but you brought the tacos, and they were kind of bougie tacos a little bit, right?
A little bit, yeah. It's sort of the idea of what Torchy's was when they first started. Of every taco is an individual, taco, has its own build, has its own accoutrements, that are going on it. Portland, when we were in Portland too, was the really height of the food scene there. And what's unique about Portland is every restaurant can excel and be hyper-focused on what they're curating. And I think it's really different than the Texas market, where in Texas, you're used to going into a restaurant that has a little bit of everything for everybody, that you have a large parking lot, you're going to stay there for a while, get your appetizer, your entree, your beverages, your dessert, your whole family's going to be happy. In Portland, you're capable of going to unique restaurants that are really doing exceptional biscuits and exceptional ice cream and exceptional, right?
I went to a biscuit place in Portland.
Of course you did. And wasn't it exceptional?
It was very exceptional. Yeah, that is interesting.
But
so you can kind of restaurant hop, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. And you were asking, how people received it. People wanted to receive it You came in wanting to enjoy Texas tacos. You know, they didn't come in with their own
Idea
expectation or wanting it to be their California taco. You know, so it was a little bit of a different mindset and a little bit of a different creative freedom, I think, for restaurateurs to really be passionate about what they were doing and create something for the customer rather than be reactive to what those customer needs are. Does that make sense?
Would you have Texas people that would come in and be like, oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Just a little bit of
Oh,
home
yeah,
here.
that's cool.
Actually, somebody came into Summer Revival last week and she was like, you look very familiar.
No.
She was a customer.
In Portland. Oh, that's
wow.
amazing.
She
What a
was on
small world.
vacation, even a weirder situation. She was on vacation in Portland and happened to say, oh, can I talk to the owner? I'm from Texas. And so we met, 7 years ago or something.
Wow.
Yeah, she recognized.
So that restaurant sounds like it was a success,
Yes.
but you had to shut it down because of COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. It is a bummer.
Yeah.
It is a bummer. It
And-
was too hard to run. Yeah.
Were they very strict there in Oregon as far as?
I think that's an understatement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really, really handcuffed businesses and made it hard. I mean, even with liquor sales, you weren't able to do off-premise liquor sales.
Oh, really?
For a long time. They ended up, opening that up over the course of time. But in Portland, having outdoor seating wasn't a great solution for, a good amount of time.
Yeah. February in
year.
Portland's it's not great sitting
Exactly.
outside.
Like
Yeah.
even
It's not an alternative.
Yeah, May in Portland, it's raining.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I wonder how many thousands of restaurants or businesses closed down in Portland over that
The
whole
majority
time.
of our friends that have restaurants are either, no longer running those restaurants or still, kind of climbing out of that.
Yeah.
How different was that being in El Paso? I saw that you guys were featured in 36 Hours in El Paso in the New York Times, Ripe Eatery, right?
Actually, 3 of our restaurants.
3? Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ripe Eatery. You might not know that we were owners of Ripe Eatery, Tom's Folk Cafe, and Tabla, which was a tapas restaurant.
So these were
Those were
all
all featured
in El
36
Paso?
hours.
Steve, tapas, not topless.
Yeah, we got that
damn
a lot.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got excited for a second.
I thought it was a topless.
That was a topless restaurant.
A widespread
I thought that was
of
Hooters.
restaurants.
Yeah.
Exactly. whatever your interests are. Whatever your
Okay, all right. Okay. You're going to get me in trouble. So was that the first 3 restaurants you opened in El Paso? Because you said in your bio you've had 7. Summer Revival is your 7th one. Was that 1, 2, and 3?
So in El Paso, when I was, I think, 22,
Okay.
my husband was in the Army and was deployed to Iraq. And I think a month into his deployment, we opened our first. My brother and I opened. My brother had just graduated from culinary school here in Austin and was working at, I'll think of it in a minute, a restaurant that's no longer open here.
Okay.
That was an amazing restaurant. I convinced him to move to El Paso because it was a food desert out there. And we opened our first restaurant as babies while my husband was deployed for a year and a half. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was Ripe. He got out of the military. We opened Tom's Folk Cafe, which was a darling. We converted it, a little old house, a 1-bedroom house, into an amazing restaurant.
Similar to Summer Revival.
Oh yeah, I guess in size.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I think it was even smaller actually than Summer Revival. But yeah, very creative menu. Lots of creative energy in that one. And then we opened Tabla, and then we opened the Drifter, which was a food truck.
Okay.
And that was too ahead of its time.
Okay.
That was a quick failure.
So that was 4, and then the one in Portland was 6, and Summer Revival is 7. So what was 5?
We had 2 restaurants in Portland.
Oh, okay.
They were the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the restaurant business has a reputation for being very, very difficult to be successful. Yeah, I know. So how have you been able to have 7?
Well, they're not all successes.
Yeah, okay. So various levels of success. Maybe one was ahead of its time, but I mean, Summer Revival, you've got a great reputation there. Hopefully, I appreciate that. It's doing very, very well. But what's the formula that you have that a lot of these other people don't have?
Well, that's a great question.
I honestly don't have an answer for that. I think my answer is there is not a formula.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that is the best piece of advice for somebody that is trying to open a restaurant. I have so many friends failing right now. I have a brother in San Antonio who opened a second location with the same formula as the first location that's struggling. There is no, and I mean, that's not a negative on him. It just is a clear indication that there is no manual for the hospitality industry. I think the hospitality industry is also changing so rapidly. And there's so many factors that you can't control, or as soon as you are in control of it. Labor is incredibly hard. Food costs are incredibly hard. Customer needs are very challenging. The introduction during the pandemic of delivery services and different requirements. Right. Even in Dripping Springs, places for children to play, just the level of complexity of emotional.
I love that you don't have places for children to play.
Oh, please expand upon that.
I do. Well, when you want to go have, lunch, you don't want to. I don't know. Maybe because I'm a mom, but I always feel like I have to have one eye on somebody else's child, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to sit and enjoy my lunch in a quiet spot. And I feel like I was really thinking about Summer Revival, and it has become one of my favorite spots to eat now for lunch. I really love it. And I call it curated chaos because it's busy all the time, every single time I go in there. But you and the people that you have working for you just have it down.
Oh, thank you.
And one of the things that I'm really kind of starting to see now, a trend towards this whole sourdough craze.
Yeah.
And you talked about the needs of the customer. Are you starting to see maybe some of these social media trends? I'll just throw some like the sourdough craze, the tip culture, things like that. Are you starting to see a lot of that kind of bleed in to, you're not able to just manage the restaurant, you have to manage the chaos as well in the outside.
Absolutely, yeah. And maybe that is the formula is that you're asking. If I could funnel it down to one thing, it's a great analogy of a duck in water. Of when underneath the water,
everything looks
it's
calm on the surface.
Yeah. And that's our job. That's our job in hospitality. Is for you to come in and feel warm and welcomed, but you want to be part of a party. We want to welcome you into the coolest, your coolest neighbor throwing a party, that we're introducing you to something maybe you haven't had before. You're coming back for that salad that you love so much. We want it to feel lively and energetic, but it needs to feel safe and structured. Yeah. And that's a perfect balance, and it's hard to achieve consistently. Yeah.
What was that one salad that they had that I went 3 times in 1 week?
Something peach.
It was peach. Yeah, it was a peach.
It's coming back. Yeah.
That was one of the questions. You've had some really interesting menu items there. How are you guys coming up with these interesting dishes?
We are very, very blessed. Oh, we're all, my husband and I both run the restaurant, and we are like constantly coming up with new ideas, whether they be different business directions or menu items or specials that we're trying to do. But we have a really, really great team and a very talented chef.
The McConaughey tuna.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's actually a great example of your previous question of
social media.
Are we following trends? Yeah. And to expand upon that it is important that we are bringing sort of those things that you find to be interesting, that you're connecting to outside of our restaurant, but not making them a fixture of our restaurant.
He didn't know, he didn't know what it was when we went there. And behind the counter, she said, "Oh, this is the Matthew McConaughey tuna salad." I was like, "Oh, does it have the crispy jalapenos?"
Yes.
And Steve was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Okay, well, I'll fill you in.
Yeah,
I'll fill you in onto the
I
McConaughey tuna." Look,
still don't remember.
Cool either. When I was presented this idea for the January special, I had to look it up, and I was shocked at how many people I've told about, when they walked in, this is going to be our special. I would say 9.5 out of 10 knew exactly what I was talking about. Shocked. Yeah.
Wow.
They're cooler than me.
Yeah, and they're way cooler than me because I still don't know. So, Becky, I want to go back a little bit. So you come up with a new menu item. Are you seeing something at some other place and then making a variation of it? Or do you walk in the kitchen one day and you go, you got all these ingredients, you go, this sounds like it would go well together? Or how are you? I cook just a little tiny bit, and being in the kitchen and seeing what you have and then trying to make a dish out of that. How do you guys come up with the first step of creating a brand new dish?
There is no consistent answer to that question. There's no checklist that we go through. I think it's all over.
Okay.
We see something on Instagram that inspires us that another restaurant is doing. We went out to eat and saw something. We're doing a pork cheddar sandwich this month because our chef was eating at a restaurant a pork cheddar is a very classic sandwich, but was eating at a restaurant in Austin called Meat and Bread, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
That's known for their pork cheddar, and absolutely loved it and wanted to bring something like that, because we typically do these sort of crazy wild specials that are a little bit extravagant. And this was a very flavorful, very impressive sandwich, but very simple. So wanted to, every month, we don't want to be just trying to one up the last one.
Oh, yeah.
We want diversity. And we want to think about the weather. That's why we did the McConaughey tuna salad is in January. What are we going to do to bring people in that's interesting, but it's a little healthier because people start their diets.
Oh, that's
they
a good
want
idea.
they want to pivot. So we really think about what those needs are. And even this month when we're doing the pork cheddar, we wanted to do something heavier. We want more men coming in and feeling like they can connect to the food that we're serving, and it doesn't just feel like a ladies' tea room. So we want to present those things a little more front and center to,
So it's the Sandra
identify a
Bullock
restaurant.
porchetta sandwich? Is that what it's called?
You wish.
Get the men in there.
Are you starting to see more, not just the healthier trends you talked about, January, everybody is on a diet, but are people starting to now really pay attention to what is in their food, the cleaner foods?
That's a great question.
Are they farm to table?
Have you had somebody come up and go, are there any seed oils in this?
Yes. Everything
Absolutely.
has seed oil.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wrote down a note, customer needs. I think that's going to get filed under that customer needs.
Yeah,
file.
But Dripping Springs has very diverse needs. We definitely have people that are concerned about seed oils. We definitely have people that are concerned where the chickens are raised, for the chickens that we're using, for the eggs that we're using, the salmon that we're using.
What I want to know, just like, what is the most bizarre question you've been asked to, like, where?
She may not want to do that because we may have a listener.
Did the chicken have family?
Yeah.
Chicken have a family?
That was Portlandia.
Oh, yeah.
They named the chicken. I think the waiter came out with this is what you'll be eating this evening. His name was Larry.
Oh, my God.
I don't want to know my chicken's name when I eat it. I don't want to know.
It's got to be so hard. Now, I feel like I'm fairly healthy and I kind of watch what I eat. But if I go in a restaurant, I'm not nitpicking everything. I figure, that's the time you can just let it go. But
you're not much of as a foodie, though.
Sorry.
No, I'm not much of a foodie. But go ahead and finish your thought, Becky.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people that come in are a little bit on both sides of the spectrum.
Okay.
They come in and they're very thoughtful, very curious. They want to ask a lot of questions. And then they typically walk themselves still to the item on the menu that they were most attracted to, right? So they want to know all the information.
That's
but
funny.
they don't always use that information.
I don't think so. I think that's somebody that's going through the effort of trying to be healthy, but in the end, they eat whatever the heck they want.
I think that's fine.
I think so too.
I think that's absolutely fine.
Sound informed, but really their stomach is really the one that's guiding them.
You know what I'm going to equate that to? I'm going to go off on a tangent. It's the people make their January resolutions to go to the gym for an hour 3 times a week, and they go to the gym for an hour and they sit on their phone on Instagram. But they're able to say, I checked it off. I went to the gym for an hour.
That is so true. But you know what, though, I'm just going to kind of give the shout out to the tuna sandwich. When was the last time? You've never seen me eat tuna. I do not eat. I am not a tuna fish eater at all. And when I saw that on your menu and they were telling me about it, was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And not only have I ordered it twice, I've ordered it 3 times.
Yeah, that's good.
That's incredible.
It was really, because I don't. And then I had Lisa Sloan. She was with the city. She was there, and she was like, "Oh no, I don't eat tuna." And I said, "No, this is not tuna you just eat.
Yeah.
This is tuna you enjoy."
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I absolutely love that. And I think that's what we're trying to do in Dripping Springs is pull threads. We have things on the menu that we earn your trust with. That you came in and you felt good about it. It felt safe. And then the next time you come in, you're going to try something a little more challenging. And nothing on our menu is aggressive. Nothing on our menu.
Ooh, that sounds like.
Yeah.
I mean, I
We want
know
you to
exactly
trust.
what you're talking about. Like when
Yeah.
something is aggressive that you eat, and you're like, oh, either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it, or you're going to have food envy because somebody else has it. But that's really good. Like it almost seems
Sounds like oysters to me.
it's a very shareable
hard sell.
place too. I feel like you sit down and if I'm eating something and Steve's eating something and I'm like, ooh, we go.
Yeah.
I want some of that.
Yeah. So you're talking about the people that come in and you're earning their trust. How are you spreading the word about the restaurant?
That is my biggest challenge.
Is it?
Yeah, that's my biggest challenge. And I talk to people about it all day long. Marketing is hard.
Yeah.
Marketing is very, very hard.
What have you found that's effective?
Word of mouth. And that's why
isn't
it's
that
taken
funny?
us 3 years to get
Yeah.
where we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was not a speed pass.
How about social media influencers? Have you had anybody come in and say, I'm, XYZ with Austin Foodie, blah, 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 and if you give me this, and I will showcase it?
Sure.
I mean, have people done
Have
that?
you?
We have,
Yeah.
and we have done that. I used to be much more aggressive. I also wear all the hats,
Yeah.
so it's not a aggressive decision for me to be less involved in social media.
Yeah.
I just have to pick where to spend my time,
Yes.
and where to spend my money, because I could obviously give that responsibility to somebody else. But you have to think about return on investment, and social media has recently changed. I'm sure when somebody listens to this recording in 6 months, it's going to be quite different than it is today,
Yeah.
and different than it was 3 months ago. But the algorithm continues to change. I need to speak to people locally. I need to speak to people that are going to come to my restaurant once a week, twice a week. I can pay influencers, but that's going to reach a much wider net of people that might come once every 6 months.
Well,
Might
and-
come in from Austin.
Right.
You may not
and
be
I'm
able
selling
to
$14
handle.
sandwiches.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's the
an
other
interesting
Capacity, right? Yeah, you
point
got
too,
to. Yeah.
is the busier we get, the harder it is for people to park, the longer wait that people have.
the
So we
parking,
create, as we solve one problem, we might create another. So it's us trying, instead of just focusing so much on volume and wanting more and more and more, is how can we be more thoughtful about spreading out those sales? How can we get more catering or more off-sites events that we can do in addition to? But we also have a very small kitchen.
I was
so-
going to
Yeah.
ask that. Do you have an off-site kitchen, or is it just that? Because my little view of your kitchen is
that's the view.
okay. It looks
It's
teeny tiny.
Amazing what our kitchen is creating in such limited
Yes,
restraints.
I see 2 guys back there, and then I see the girls kind of going back and forth, and I'm just like, there's got to be another hidden little area
Yeah.
kind of off to the back.
No,
Was that?
that's a chaos.
Did you guys sit down and go, okay, we only have this tiny little space, and design it out really, like, very strategically, or did you just go, got to get all this stuff in there and fit it where it went?
It's funny that you should ask that today.
Yeah.
It's been an evolution. So we opened originally as a tasting room. So
Okay.
it was cold kitchen. We did charcuterie. We were doing oyster night.
That's when we first
Yeah.
We
came
were
there.
doing baguette sandwiches. Very sort of low preparation. We even had the waiter, the person in the front, the staff, was kind of turning around and making the dishes because the food just complemented the wine that we were
Okay.
selling. We obviously quickly pivoted into a restaurant where the wine is complementing the food, so we've reversed that. But we've had to get extremely creative because we didn't open as a restaurant of how to use that small space to make a full menu's worth of offerings, because you're not just making the food like that. That's the obvious part. but we bring in raw ingredients. We turn those raw ingredients into prepped ingredients. We turn those prepped ingredients into the food that's going out to your table. So how can we be the most efficient, the most organized? And a lot of that is forethought.
Yeah.
How much can we do ahead of time? What sauces can we make ahead of time? How can we prepare the salads up to that final stage so that it can go out to the customer quickly? Because not only are we limited on space, but when you're limited on space, we can only have 2 people making food for the entire restaurant. And oftentimes, half of the restaurant walks in at the same time. So how do we make sure we're taking care of the customer needs, which is food, time and quality and price point, all simultaneously. So we've had to get really creative. But the short answer was we have somebody coming today, a professional kitchen designer, to come, which happens to be today, to really be like, all right, do we start? Did we do this right? Are there things that we can add? Or can you look at it through a new lens so that we can be more efficient? Or do we need to rent a outside kitchen to do some of the prep?
Is the city hard to work with as far as if you needed to build additional outbuildings or kind of expand? I know like we were talking about the park.
Not want to answer.
I might not want to answer that.
But I see the parking situation sometimes it's kind of wonky when you get in there, but it is worth it.
So we are limited. There is a clear answer to that we don't need to work with the city because we cannot expand because it's a drain field behind our restaurant. There's nothing that we can do. What we could do is do additional seating. We have like a little patch where we could do additional seating behind the restaurant and do like an outdoor patio. But now we have to put in a handicap accessibility. We don't have a short path for my staff to get out there. So it would be sort of a blind spot, which is not a great thing to have in hospitality, is an outdoor seating that we can't manage. You talked about children running around and having to watch them. I think that would also open up a can of worms of, a little bit of a different sort of environment happening if we did that. But now we have more seating, but no more parking. So we're creating a problem rather than solving a problem. So we need both more parking and more seating to happen at the exact same time.
What you just talked about with your small kitchen and the restrictions that you have impresses me even more because I've never felt like I had a long wait at your restaurant and the food has always been perfect every time. It's like if, with some of those limitations, you would think, give them a break, but it's been great every time. I'm even more impressed.
It's really good. I want to ask you, tell me the story behind the weenie dog in the logo.
My husband gave me a weenie dog when we were dating.
I'm looking for it on the website.
His name's Beanie.
Oh, Beanie the Weenie.
Beanie
the Weenie. That's funny.
And he unfortunately passed away.
Aww.
Yeah, he was
lives
almost
on.
18 years old.
Beanie the Weenie lives on.
He lives on. My husband even has a wiener dog tattoo as his wedding ring on his wedding ring finger. So we are a wiener dog family. If you want to know the long answer to that, though, we think a wiener dog's a perfect mascot for Summer Revival because dachshunds are hounds. So they think they're very serious and they take themselves very seriously, but they're very goofy and silly dogs and very quirky.
It's a great
and
analogy.
I think that's perfect for Summer Revival. Yeah.
And you love them.
And you
love them. Yeah.
So Ian is your husband and Olive is your daughter.
That's right.
And what do you guys do for fun outside? Or is your daughter, it's kind of like being a pastor's child, right? Your daughter's growing up in the restaurant business. So, I wasn't going to go there, but you're absolutely right. On Sunday, I was supposed to take her to Lunar New Year Festival in Austin, and an employee called in sick. So Olive put on her apron.
Oh, really?
And she came to work and handed out menus and refilled waters. And we were slow for a little while. So she's like, Mom, I'm going outside. And she took a sign and started counting. I paid her $1 for every car that came in.
Oh, look at that!
Awesome!
So she's
$1.
a trooper.
Jeez,
are you hiring?
I might come work for you. Yeah, $1. Jeez.
I'll be there.
I am hiring. So always hiring.
Hey, if you see Steve and I waiting tables at Summer Revival, don't judge us.
Flipping one of the signs, Summer Revival out there. Woo!
Don't judge us for sure.
Becky, what's a typical day look like for you? Typical work day?
It's different every day.
Is it?
Yeah, it's different every day. Because some days I am, like yesterday, I was working the front register. You know, I was the order taker and the food runner yesterday, which I love doing. But it's hard to work on a business when you're working in a business.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's a lesson I will forever never learn.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it, and I think you need to also be in your business to learn how to be better, how to change, things to make them more efficient, to listen to the feedback from the customer, those kind of things. But typically wake up, do social media, do accounting, return emails. Our day starts early because we have a 6-year-old, so she gets on the bus at 6:45, so that gives us a little bit of, typically go in to work 2 hours before everybody else gets there and do projects, clean things, fix equipment that's broken, run errands.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah,
Business of doing business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of details. Yeah.
It's people that have never owned a business think about all the romantic side of it, like you coming out with a couple really nice glasses of wine and putting them down and then you go back to the kitchen and they're like, oh, it must be so fun to have this, but they don't think about all that other stuff you got to do to keep a business.
You got to put in orders for the wine.
Yeah,
you got to make sure.
It reminds me of when Steve's daughter, which I love her to death, Gracie, she came to work for us for a little bit, and then when she actually found out what we did and what her dad did, she was like, this sucks.
I don't want to do this. I told her, I said, you know what? Part of life is figuring out what you want to do, but also figuring out what you don't want to do. And you've discovered that real estate is not your thing. So
I don't want to do this.
There are no easy paths, I don't think, to success.
No, for sure. Well, I have some rapid fire questions.
I have a couple more before you get to that.
You go right ahead.
In your bio, Becky, you said that you think a lot about what Dripping Springs will look like when it grows up, which I love that line. That almost should be like a tagline.
I suggested that as a tagline.
Yeah.
Someone said it to me. Sarah from the library. What is Sarah's last name?
Sarah Rose.
Sarah Rose, obviously. What a beautiful name.
Yeah.
She said that to me one time, and I've repeated it multiple times.
It's great. I love that. But when you think about that, what do you think Dripping's going to look like in 5 or 10 or 15 years?
I don't think that's my choice.
Yeah.
I think
But you're part of it.
I am.
Yeah.
Part of its story right now.
And I'm aggressively part of it. And I'm trying to bring people. I think you asked me that just at a great moment in my own development. Is I'm trying to bring people together because I am concerned 2 things could happen. Either one person can make that decision, like what do I want Dripping Springs to look like, and I can try to make that a reality. And I think that's a little bit scary and shouldn't happen. I also think nobody is going to think about that and question it and get creative about how to make a path towards something, and we're going to lose our heart.
You think we'll sort of haphazardly fall forward and not have any plan about what it'll look like? And that could let us lose our character in Dripping Springs?
Maybe.
I think you worded that perfectly. I do think that is a reality. Yeah. Even if you think about Mercer Street, we don't have the connectivity that we need. I was in a meeting recently, and there was a lot of conversation with the new schools opening that it's going to be East Side versus West Side. That's not something I have a 6-year-old in kindergarten. We are not competitive with other schools. We're not competitive with other neighborhoods. It's not something on my radar at all. And I have heard so many people speak to that I do think people don't even will start to not think about Dripping Springs as Dripping Springs. We will just be this kind of like web of places or schools or or your church that you're connecting to. But what is bringing everybody together? What is our common ground? And how are we supporting? I know so many people that never come actually into Dripping Springs. You do all your shopping in Austin or Belterra or online.
Yeah, that's true. The east side over Belterra, Headwaters, High Point, a lot of times those people never come this way. Maybe unless they got a high school.
Even in Headwaters, it's growing on its own. You won't at some point need to leave your neighborhood.
I used to feel that same way too, because we live in High Point, and my kids went to Rooster Springs, and when they started going to middle school, that was the only time I was really going in, because I would even go to HEB because HEB wasn't here yet. We were going to HEB outside of the area, but now I'm more invested because I'm working here. I'm here more than I'm not here. And I don't know. I feel like there is something beautiful here in Dripping Springs that we need to protect it, all of us. And like what you were saying, or I said earlier, you're a part of that story. We're a part of that story. Everybody that's living, whether you're in Belterra or you're way out close to Henley, you need to protect it.
Yeah. There's a couple things I was thinking about. One is when I moved here in 2003, there was people talked about it, the east side and the west side.
Yeah.
And the west side was kind of considered like the poor side. Like, you know, you get out towards Henley, that's where the mobile homes were. And the east side was where Belterra was coming and, you know, some of the subdivisions were coming in.
It was the old drip, new drip.
Yeah, and then we got the HEB, and all the people that lived in Belterra and High Point came into Dripping because this is where the HEB was. But then when the Nutty Brown one opened, then you started hearing the east and west things again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's not the first time this has come up, but I think it's real important. The second part of that is what you said about one person making a decision about what Dripping Springs will look like. I kind of agree and kind of disagree. I do think one person can make a decision about how Dripping Springs grows and prospers, but it's each person, and you're doing it right now. You have created a restaurant here that's a wonderful business, and you're trying to be the best restaurateur, the wine company owner that you can be. And when you do that, you take that responsibility on. That brings more people to Dripping Springs. And that's what Michelle and I do here. We're just trying to bring people, let people know about the other people in the community. And if every individual person does that, this will be a kick-ass town.
Oh,
So-
absolutely.
Even more so than it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
for sure.
But how do we inspire that? That's,
Yeah.
I think, the golden
You're-
question is
Becky,
how,
example.
You
how do
are
we rapid
inspiring
fire?
me. You are inspiring me because I have seen so many crappy restaurants pop up and go away in this town, and to have somebody of your caliber over there doing what you're doing that inspires me, and it makes me. And I know if I lived in Austin and I came out and went to Summer Revival, I would be like, damn, I never would have expected this in Dripping. So
We got that
you're doing
actually
it.
a couple days ago. So
Did
we
you?
should have a James Beard.
A
We
what?
were talking about James Beard Awards the other day.
Were we talking about that? Oh, geez.
Oh, yes, I think I
getting
was.
so old.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was you.
You can take that part out.
Yeah. No, we won't
No.
take it out. We're going to leave it in. I wanted to ask, and then I'll let you do your rapid fire. You've done a marathon.
Oh,
How long ago was that?
a lifetime in college.
Oh, you did it in college? That's actually pretty young. Most people don't do them until they're a little bit later
Well,
in
how do you
life.
know?
I did one yesterday. I'm just going to
Yeah,
let you know.
yeah, you probably did. You did 40,000 steps or something yesterday. But have you thought about going back and getting into running? I know it's hard with a 6-year-old.
It's hard, and I need to get past the. I like to be all in on things. So if I'm not training for a marathon,
Yeah.
why bother?
Yeah.
I need to, be
need to get
okay
over
with a
that.
5K.
Yeah.
I need to just get back out there
Yeah.
and be okay with not being great.
Yeah.
And at my age, it's also just to keep moving your body.
That's
and
exactly right.
and to just feel
I think
good.
you move your
Yeah.
body a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
I should. I'm like the only person that doesn't track how much I'm walking.
That
but
would be very
I should.
interesting to see how many steps that you're walking
And up and down.
up and down. Around,
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you get a ton of exercise. But, well, one day, maybe you get back into your running career.
Well,
and
you're inspiring me.
Steve will
I
help
hope
you.
Yeah, I'll help you. I think it's true. You do what you can, and with having this restaurant and a 6-year-old, if all you can do is get out and run a couple miles, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just do it.
But you need to teach that to your kids too.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And
Yeah.
it's okay to not be the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Well, but you could be the best 2-mile runner
Totally.
in town. So it's all perspective.
I'm gonna make that a
That's
T-shirt.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm the best.
I'm the best.
I'll get you a T-shirt.
That's great. Okay, so here's some of my rapid fire. What is weirder, Portland or Austin?
Portland.
Oh, there you
no
go.
question.
That is interesting.
That was an
Yeah.
easy one.
I loved Portland. I loved the area outside of Portland. Portland to me was a pit. I could not wait to get out of Portland. But when we went to Mount Hood a couple times over the last couple years,
incredible.
one of the prettiest places in the country. Beautiful.
Yeah,
up there.
the area surrounding it. Okay, so what is your favorite menu item at Summer?
Oh, I absolutely hate that question, and I get asked it
Answer
5
it.
times a day.
Answer it.
The
They're
revival.
like, no,
bowl.
not the answer, not the standard answer
No,
give.
yeah.
Like the actual, like the guilty pleasure that's not even on the menu.
See, I'm boring.
Oh, that was
Chicken
like
sandwich,
healthy.
Michelle.
No,
Chicken sandwich.
No.
That's my go-to.
The chicken salad.
No, I'm a chicken sandwich. I pretty
Oh,
much.
you mean everywhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll go to a restaurant and a great big menu,
Yeah.
and Michelle will go, "There's a chicken sandwich." Like, I know, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to the restroom, and he'll come back, and I'm like, I already ordered for
Yeah.
you. I already got it. So, like,
So even though I don't exercise, I've been blessed in life with enjoying to eat healthy. I just like it. I like to get